welcome everybody. I have put all the microphones on mute, but I will do some question and answering at the end so that we can cover anything that you feel that you would like some more information on. I will also share the slides. I will share all the information that we talk about on today's webinar. So don't worry about taking notes or thinking, I'm never going to remember all this, because it will be shared with you. So I think we've got everyone on that we're going to have on. Just to remind you parents, this might get a little bit boring for the children. It's really for the parents to include you in your child's learning. Feel free to keep your camera on or turn it off. It's up to yourselves. And again, at the end, we will do some live question and answers. So I'm going to share my screen. I've got a PowerPoint that I'm going to go through. So hopefully this will work. And can I just have like a thumbs up if you can see the PowerPoint? Same Phonics? Excellent. Well done. Right, so what is phonics? Let's get started. So just some facts here to get us started. The English language has 26 letters and it has 44 sounds. And that is what we teach when we are teaching phonics. There are over 100 ways to spell those sounds. So it's one of the most difficult and complex languages to learn and to read and write. So do not feel afraid that your children will be overpowered by it, because we will do it in a fun way that hopefully your children will all learn, but hopefully yourselves will as well. Phonics isn't a scary subject in school. You will have your children coming home and being excited. Oh, we done phonics today. Might be a little bit different from when we went to school and we remember sitting at tables, doing our reading and writing. It was a bit of a boring task to learn. But now we really keep phonics fun and engaging for the children. And in this way, we feel that they promote their reading and writing skills a lot faster. So, some of the jargon. Now, this is just a little quick guide, but what you will find is some of your children will start coming home with the words that I'm going to talk about now. So for yourselves, it's really nice for you to know what we're talking about. So phonics is the teaching of reading by developing awareness of the sounds and words and the corresponding letters used to represent those sounds. The phoneme is any one of the 44 sounds which make up words in the English language. The grapheme is how a phoneme is written down, and there can be more than one way to spell a phoneme. Going back to it being a really complicated language to learn to read and write is because we have all the different alternative spellings. Just look at that one example. The phoneme is A, but it can be spelled in a variety of ways. AY, when it's in a word like way. It's got the split digraph here, the A and the E. AI, they all use the same different letters, but they make the same sound. EA, EIGH, and also singular in some words like lady. So what you will hear your children, hopefully, when they're talking about how much they enjoy phonics, is they might start talking about blending. And that's when we put together the sounds in a word in order to read it. For example, the children might start using sounds when they're reading, and we tell them to blend the sounds together then to get the word. So for example, if they're reading a book and they get to the word frog, they will sound it out, frog. And then they blend it and they'll say the word frog. Segmenting is the opposite. So it's when you have a word and you're using it then for writing. You've got a word in your head, you want to put it on paper, you want to put it on a picture, you want to segment the sounds in that word. So then that is when the children are thinking, I want to write frog. Let me think, frog. And they're segmenting that word into the sounds then. So phonics is a method for teaching reading and writing, and it develops the ability to hear, recognize, and use the sounds within words. Learners are also taught the correspondence between sounds and the graphemes, and that's the different spelling patterns that represent them. So phonics is currently the main way in which children in British primary schools are taught to read in their earliest years. And children will also be taught other skills such as whole word recognition. This is tricky words. You might hear your children start to talk about the tricky words that they've been learning in school. And this just means these are words they can't sound out. So they do have to learn them by sight. We do lots of games and activities in school to really establish the tricky words and ensure that your children can read them. They will see them in books. And sorry, 1 second, somebody's got their microphone off. Can you put your microphone on mute, please? There's just a little bit of background noise. Thank you. And that's those sight words, those tricky words will go alongside being able to sound out, blend, segment. We'll also be teaching book skills and a love of enjoyment and reading. Teaching the phonics obviously is to get the children's independence to be able to read and write, but we also teach other important book skills such as how to turn the pages properly in the book, learning to read the correct way so they're not, going to page 4 before page 3. We also teach them how to respect books and really get an enjoyment out of reading. So story times in school are always kept fun. We use lots of different activities. We use our voices, we use costumes, we use story props, things that will really engage our children, our young learners at this age. And so why are they taught phonics? Phonics, taught in a structured way, is generally accepted to be the most effective way to teach reading and writing. Children learn to hear and recognize the sounds and then spell them correctly. And this assists with their confidence, accuracy, and fluency. Children, when they first begin to read, you will notice they will sound out almost every word on the page. As they become more confident and more fluent in their reading, they will be able to start reading on sight. So we also have to really drive home this factor, which is the importance of the listening skills. Phonics really heavily relies on children being able to hear and distinguish the sounds within words. So children with poor listening or attention skills can struggle with phonics learning. At the minute, lots of the children are working on those first initial listening skills and developing their attention skills before we get into the real nitty-gritty of showing them letters. It's still a very vital and important part of phonics. And what we call this is phase 1. Here are the 7 aspects in phase 1. And I cannot stress enough, parents, how important phase 1 is before we rush into phase 2. It's using that, old wise tale, do not teach me how to run before I can walk. So we really have to look at the phase 1. That's lots of listening activities, so environmental sounds, instrumental sounds, some body percussion, rhythm and rhyme, alliteration. Can the children actually, before they see the letter, realize that words start with the same sound, such as sun and sock? They can hear that that starts with. So then when we get to phase 2 and we start introducing them to the sounds and what it looks like in print, they can make that distinguished relationship between them. Voice sounds and oral blending and segmenting is also a vital skill. We have been doing that in FS2 for the last few weeks and really practicing and having lots of opportunity to do so in the class. So that when we say to a child, without them even looking at letters, we could say to a child, come and sit on the at. They know, oh, that's the mat. Mrs. Gray is spelling mat. So they come. And that means when they learn how to read the sounds, they will be able to hear themselves doing it. They will be able to read the sounds, at. And they'll know the word is mat because their ears have been trained into do it. So this oral blending and oral segmentation is very important at this stage. Please have fun with it at home. We do try to stick with simple CDCs, which is consonant, vowel, consonant words, and 3-letter words. So things like, can you put your rubbish in the bin? Can you sit on the chair? It's time for ed. And really those games are key for helping us being able to move them from phase 1 into phase 2. Little games like Find the Rhymes. You will have lots of things in your home that rhyme with other items, and it's fun to play little games with them. And you'll notice, if they've been doing it in school with their teachers, that they become fixated on it. No matter what you do or what you say, it's, oh, I know a word that rhymes with that. So you might see that in the next few weeks. And again, playing little games for starting sounds. You could play I Spy. You could look at things in your house, try to find pairs of items that start with the same sound. This is the alliteration, going back to that phase 1 aspect, and it's really important for helping them learn to read and write. Then after we feel that they're secure with phase 1, we move to phase 2. Now it's important to say at this point as well that not all the children in every class will be ready for phase 2 at the same time, and that's absolutely fine. We see every child in our class as unique, and we make sure that we tailor the learning to where that child is up to. If your child is very confident with phase 1, they will already be doing phase 2. If your child needs that bit more practice with phase 1, then we will be doing that in school, and we can also suggest activities that you can do at home to support. When we move into phase 2, that is when we begin to learn the some letter sounds and match them to the graphings. So most of the first sounds are single letter sounds, but there's also several digraphs. Now I've put this in today's information because a lot of the parents last year said their children were coming home from school from FS2 and they were talking about digraphs. And obviously the parents had no idea because it's not how we learned to read and write. And a digraph is when there are two letters, and they represent one sound. So children, once they begin phase 2, they will be able to blend the sounds to make words. And by the end of phase 2, children will be able to read vowel consonant words like at and it, and consonant vowel consonant words such as cat or pin. Children will also learn to read the tricky words. Phase 2 has the tricky words below, so it's the, to, go, I, and no. By the end of phase 2, children should be able to read and write words, and that will be with the letters that they have been taught. It isn't all the letters in the alphabet. We keep some of them for phase 3, and also in phase 3 is when we go into more digraphs. Children are taught reading and spelling daily throughout the week, and each session will follow a structured format. So phonics is taught. It's very important, phonics. We do say it's not the most important thing because we do see developing the whole child holistically, but we do it every day because studies have shown that if you do it every day, the children learn how to read and write with that much more fluency and confidence. The activities used to teach will vary and they can be adapted. They are multisensory and they appeal to different learning styles. For example, your child may be able to start reading and writing, but their physical development might mean that they're not ready to hold a pencil yet. We're not going to let the fact that they can't hold a pencil hold them back from writing. They can dip a stick into mud and they can write on the ground. They are still using that skill of writing, but in a multisensory way that appeals to them. Children write in glitter with their fingers. They write in shaving foam with their fingers. They write in paint with their fingers. There are lots of different activities. Children can also learn to write and to spell words by building them with magnetic letters or with phonics flashcards. So there are lots of different ways that we can promote reading and writing in school before we think about let's get them sitting down with a pencil and paper. Teachers, your child's class teacher will assess children's understanding throughout each session and will also assess the knowledge of sounds to see whether a child is ready to move on to the next phase. Going back to what I said earlier, we do really see as every child is unique. So if that child is ready, we keep pushing them forward, challenging them, making sure that their learning moves forward. Phase 3, which will be a little bit later in the year, is when we have got all the phase 2 sounds taught to the children are able to read and write words, sometimes phrases, sometimes sentences containing those sounds, as well as the tricky words. Then this is when we start using letter names. You will probably know your children come home, they say s, at. You use all the sounds, and that's what we do when we're doing phase 2. It's not until we introduce phase 3 that we start using the names A, B, C. And I know that parents, if you're not on this because you want to support, so I would say the biggest thing for you to help support at home is really try and use the letter sounds rather than letter names. And the reason for it is if a child is learning how to read, they get mixed up between the names and the sounds. So for example, if they are reading the word mat, they might do the sound m, use the letter name A, and then go back to the sound t, and it will end up being mate rather than at, mat. I hope you can hear the difference there. So as much as you can, use the sounds at home. And it's really hard as well because we know a lot of things on TV, on YouTube, lots of songs, they concentrate on the letter names, but it's just being mindful that when they are doing some activities at home, you might see that they like to mark make, you might see some of the letters that we've been doing in school and just use the sound. Your teacher will be able to share with you the correct pronunciation of each sound, so you can refer to that. So phase 3, we are taught another 25 graphemes, and we start using the letter names. The final single letter sounds are taught, and together we use more consonant digraphs and vowel digraphs. This is when we start to learn ch and sh and a. And this is why we use the letter names in phase 3, because we will tell them, oh, when you have a C and a H, it makes the ch sound. Children also continue to learn how to blend and segment words using the new sounds. If you look here at this example, I'll take night. So night, it still has 3 sounds. So we have to teach the children that it's 3 sounds, even though it's 5 letters, because n is a sound, IGH is a sound, it's a trigraph, which means 3 letters, 1 sound, and the t is the sound. So children will then move on to blending and segmenting 2-syllable words, such as cooker, eating, broken. So how else can you help your child at home? Work under listening skills, play a few games that I suggested, and if you want any more, please contact your child's teacher. We have a bank of games and activities that we are more than happy to share. Every week now on a Thursday, we will be doing the sharing of the learning in class, and we will put activities that you can try at home. So please give them a go if you've got some time, and you will find that your children really engage with them because they're used to playing them in school. Another thing to keep your eye on is during the tapestry observations of your child, your teacher will sometimes write next steps or why don't you try at home activities. So really look at those activities that are being set and have a look at how you can do them at home. Practice segmenting and blending, like I told you. Play those games. Start using some robot talk or some sound talk in your house. Like, can you go and get your bag? Every morning you practice that. Oh, it's my bag. I need to go get my bag. Look for familiar sounds and words in the world around you. Especially when we start doing those tricky words, we are going to be telling the children that they can't sound them out. They just have to learn that when they see it, they have to say it. We will share with you what tricky words we are doing and then try and spot it in stories. You might be reading a story with your child and you get to the word the, and your teacher has shared with you that you've been looking at it in school. So you could pause and see if your child can read the word for you. Give them that confidence to do it. You could practice new sounds and graphemes. So again, we're going to update you on those and have a practice. But the most important thing that you can be doing is read to and with your child every day. At this stage, until they start reading independently, the stories that you share together, all those book skills that you teach your child are still vitally important. So try and just have that time every day. If you do it, it will work to your schedule. If you find that they enjoy stories at bedtime, then just make it, you go to bed that 10 minutes earlier so that you can share those 10 minutes together and read a story. You can ask them questions about the story. You could pause and ask them, could they spot any sounds that they know on the page? There are lots of different ways. Getting them to talk about the character, again, it's all those listening skills that are vital for the reading and writing, so it's practicing them all the time. I've put a few photos up here. If I've got any of my parents on the call, you might recognise your child on it. And the reason I wanted to put a few, just to show you how phonics is taught. It's fun. We expose them to the letters in fun ways. This little girl is threading some letters, you know, using interactive board and chunky crayons or chunky pens to be able to write until they've got that fine motor grip of their pencil. Here's Metal Max. He helps with our sound talk. So I have a big box of items and I might say to the children, can you go and feed Metal Max today? Today he wants to eat a duck. Then they have to go to the box and they have to find the duck and they feed him. They love doing that. You can see this little boy is taking his writing outside. So again, it doesn't have to be pencil and paper to start and promote writing in school. You know, this little boy has dipped his paintbrush into the water and there he is doing a perfect formation of this sound. You can see the little girl here doing some with glitter. And you might notice on the photo here, the A has some formation rhymes. I'm just going to show you that. So every time we teach a sound, we teach them what the sound looks like using these flashcards, and then at the back there is a little rhyme. These will be shared with you on Thursday as well by your teacher, and it's just so that if they're doing it at home and they've forgotten the formation, you can say the rhyme. For example, to do the P, we say down the plat and over the pirate's face, and it really helps them to memorize it. So you might start hearing a lot of that. The last few weeks we've had in our ass, you might have heard a lot of slither down the snake or around the apple down the leaf. So you're going to hear a lot from your children. So that's why we wanted you on today, to really, you know, empower you to support at home. We will share as much as we can with you. And if you've got any questions, then please come to us. And then finally, we've got this little boy. He is making some silly soup. So you might hear about silly soup in school, and that's where we've got a lovely little song and we add things. If you're still on phase 1, you could add things that rhyme. You could add things that start with a certain sound. Then as you move up to phase 2, you might be adding items to your bowl, to your silly soup that match our sound of the day. And this little girl has been out on a hunt this week, taking her magnifying glass and going and spotting lots of sounds in the environment. You can see that it's very child-led. None of this looks stressful for the children. None of it looks like hard work. It all looks fun, but you can see that they are beginning to read and to write, which is amazing. So that is the end of the information that I'm going to share. I hope it wasn't too much overload, but I just know that you'll be interested in it. Again, if you ever want any more, I am happy to do some follow-up phonics sessions with you where we can get a bit more examples into how I would teach a lesson, and we can share that with you. Have we got any questions? Just feel free to turn off your microphone if you do have some questions. If not, you can email me at any time.
Hi, just one thing. You know, they had this phonics sessions for FS1. Would they be a practice of what they did learn during that time? I mean,
yeah. So what we usually, is your child in FS2?
Yes, she is.
Yeah. So, and again, I was my classes teacher in FS1, so I can really give you the real explanation of what we are doing. So it looks like, and I did tell my parents, it looks like, oh, well, we just come back to the start again and starting again. But in FS1, what we do is we introduce our sounds just to read them and to say the sounds. In FS2, there is the focus on reading and on writing. So we start back at phase 2, if they're ready, the first letter, but we do a lot more writing with them. Their teacher then can differentiate where your child is up to. So for example, today, if we were doing our sound, and children in my class, they already knew the sound. then what I'm working with them children is, okay, you know this sound and you know maybe 10 other sounds. So what we're going to do today is we're going to work at reading words and matching it to the picture. So even though we've got a focus sound for the day, that will be their focus on learning their formation and how to write properly. And we will also then use that as a focus to really stimulate their learning in different ways. For example, today, the children who can read, because they can recognize the sound, they're already at that stage where they can blend. They might have been reading words such as pat and pan and pig and finding the item or the picture to match. Where other children who are maybe just starting in phase 2 are learning the sound and just being able to say that sound and think of something that starts with that sound. Does that answer your question?
Okay, and also just like for her, just want to know, would you be showing some videos of patterns of how to basically write it, so that she could see and understand?
Yeah, so we do it in school, but do you mean share it with you at home?
Yeah, that would be good.
That's, of course. Yeah.
She's a distance learner, she's sitting at home, so.
Learner. Yeah, no problem. So the distance learning will be getting from what we're doing in school. So we will use our letters we're doing in school for the formation. And what the teacher will do is the teacher will send a video being able to show it. So I think last week, Bolton, and she did the sound and she told them the rhyme, slither down the snake, and would have showed how to do it. I think she said she did it in shaving form or something. So we do demonstrate this, and that will be as well.
Okay. She has some trouble writing S and a few other words. Yeah.
But you know what though? This order that we are taught phonics, but I always say it's the hardest letter to write, and it's the first.
Okay.
But maybe just get them over that mountain, and then the rest is all downhill and sailing from there.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's practice, and like we say, it's not going to be that we hold back their learning because there is an aspect of it. You know, if you can recognize a sound, and this goes for any child, you can recognize sounds, and they are beginning to form them, getting picture perfect. It takes the time, and it's a process, and we will reinforce it, and we'll always revise throughout the year. Every one of our phonics lesson begins with revising the sounds that we've done so far, and that's how we'll start phonics. So it's never any standalone independent lesson, and it can't be, because if a child has a bug or they're just not paid attention that day and they've not listened, then they'll be lost. So we revise and revise all the time to really make those skills concrete.
Okay, it's just a pattern thing, the writing pattern is what we just want her to be completely aware of.
Exactly. Take practice. Now look back over the distance learning videos, and for the parents online who haven't got distance learning, yours are in school, we will share those videos as well on a Thursday. Okay. We'll just revise back over them all the time. Again, it's something that can't be forced. It might be that you can look at other ways of doing it. If you're, did you say it was a daughter?
Sorry.
Was it a daughter?
Yeah, a daughter. Yeah, her name is Trisha. Yeah.
Trisha. So maybe Trisha, you could think of like what she's actually interested in. Is it that she's interested in fairies or princesses, and to think, all right, how am I going to get this interest in? So maybe you could develop a stick that has a fairy on it, and they're going to learn how to write it. So you're taking that pressure and that ownership of them, and you're going with their interest and giving them a purpose to write as well. We are going to write a letter to the fairies. This fairy's name that's visit in our garden is called Sarah. Let's write a letter. What does Sarah start with? Oh, it's our that we've been learning. Revise out again. Let's get our phonics card and see what it looks like. Right, let's have a go at doing it. It might be on paper and pen. It might be paint in her finger. So really just going with where they're up to. I always say to parents, they'll get there at the end. It's not a race. We will all get there. We will get there at different points in the year, and that's absolutely fine, because there's 17 areas of the early years curriculum. Reading and writing are very important, but they cover 2 areas. So there may be something that you can focus on with your daughter at the minute, because other areas are slower, and vice versa with other children.
Okay.
Does that answer you?
Yeah.
Thanks for the question. I'm sure lots of parents have the same question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello.
Any question?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
This is Sultana. My son is in FS2C. He is now in school learning. We are opted for school learning. So for phonics practice or for numbers, can you share on Tapestry some activities for school learners also?
Of
So
course.
after school, we can practice because my son is not telling me what happened in school, what you learned today. So I can give time to him and get practice also. So
Of
can you share on Tapestry school learners for school
Of
learners?
course. So what we've done is we've given like a little bit of a grace period to get the children in without bombarding you with a lot. But you know, now we will bombard you. So for weeks.
Just one activity or two activity means I want to know what he is learning. If he is learning P sound, so I can practice him because he is very hyperactive, you know. So I just want to remind him what is P, what is P, means for practice only.
Of
So
course.
he can do that. If it is possible, then share one or two activity for that.
What we're going to do, all the teachers on a Thursday are going to round up the learning from the week. So it might not be that we tell you every single thing that went on that week. We might do some of the highlights and then we will have, why not try at home? This week in phonics, our sounds have been, this week our tricky word has been, can you spot it anywhere? Because we know what children are like. They go home, they don't tell you anything. It's like a top secret society in school. But yeah, of course, the in-school learning as well, we'll be getting lots of information of what we are doing in school, and you'll be getting that on a weekly basis. And again, look out for their personalised Tapestry observations, because there may be next steps linked on that as well to a different area. So you will be getting that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? No, I think that's it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you enjoyed it, you got something from it. Please stay in contact with your teachers, with myself. My email is rochelle.mcdade@capitalschooluae.com. Feel free to drop me an email if you've got any questions. And also Danielle Davies, our EYFS lead, is also available to answer any emails and things. So don't sit on anything that you're worried about or you're thinking, I'd like to know more information. If parents ask for, parent webinar on a certain area, then of course we'd be happy to do it. Usually we'd bring you into school, but obviously with everything now, it's Zoom, Zoom, Zoom. But thank you so much for coming on today, and I'll see you all soon.
For all your guidance, and we do have the same concern as Chetana's mom said. We don't know what is being done today, so if in case we get the review of that in the email or Tapestry, so we can work on our kids simultaneously along with the teachers as well. So I hope that will be
Tapestry this year, so keep your eye on Tapestry. Last year we did it on email, but we're going to put everything educational on Tapestry. And also, while we're on that note, if we do share what we've been learning about in school, some like activities you can do at home, please remember you can share them as well. The parents were amazing during distance learning, sharing things. We get so much out of it as well when you share things that they've done at home. You might say, oh, today was the first day they formed their sound correctly. I am going to take a picture and send that to their teacher. And we will always make a big deal of it with the children. It's important for them as well to see that homeschool connection. We're not seeing each other and speaking really at pickup time. Some children might be on the bus, we might not see. So we want to make sure they know that that connection is still there. And my kids love it if I pop up something they've done at home, on the board. Oh, your mom sent me this on Tapestry. Let's have a look at what you've been doing at home. It could be anything. It could be they had their first bike ride without stabilizers. We went to the cinema this week, and it really gives us a bit of an opening as well of having conversations with them about what they're interested in doing at home. So definitely let's keep this two-way system open, and we will keep you updated with what's going on in school, and you can do the same.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming on. I won't keep you any longer, but thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
I'll see you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.